Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to the Public Works Committee. Today's Wednesday, February 27th. I'm Councilmember Joe Buscaino, Chair of Public Works Committee. We are awaiting the arrival of Councilmember Krikorian, who should be here any minute. But I do want to get started here in respect to your time. And Michael, any general public comment cards?
We have not received any cards.
Okay, no general public comment cards received. I'm going to skip over a few items until Councilmember Krikorian gets here. Let's hear item 4 first.
Item number 4 is a motion from Council Members Reyes and Buscaino relative to increasing the street damage restoration fee.
Thank you. We have staff here on item 4. I'd like to thank Councilmember Reyes for introducing this motion. I know we discussed a little bit about this. Mr. Jordan, good morning.
Hi, Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
Good afternoon, rather. I know we discussed a little bit about this issue back in April when Councilmember Englander considered a similar motion. Everyone knows our roads are in terrible shape, obviously, and it's also absolutely vital that we ensure contractors make quality repairs when they cut into city streets. Do you have any insight on the restoration fee, who pays for it, and when they pay it?
Well, my understanding is the street damage restoration fee is paid by anyone that is making street cuts in our streets. When a street has been paved, there is a 1-year moratorium that you're not allowed to make street cuts. And if you do make a cut then you have to repave the entire street. After that 1-year moratorium period is over, then you have to pay a street damage restoration fee. The fee is relatively high after that first year, and then it decreases in amount over time to reflect the age of the street. So essentially, utility companies or other folks that are making street cuts pay the fee. It's actually an issue being discussed in the negotiations with the gas company as part of their negotiations for the new franchise agreement. They currently do not pay the fee because under the original franchise that was negotiated many years ago, we didn't have a street damage restoration fee. That will be part of the new franchise, so going forward when that franchise is done, then the gas company will be paying it as well.
Now, when a contractor comes in and does some work on our street, are they required to post a bond before they're issued a permit to cut into the street?
You know, I'm not entirely sure of what the various contractors are posting in terms of
Anyone here from Con Ed? No? Okay.
I know in the response to the motions on the issue that Con Ed is looking very seriously at all options that are available to ensure that our streets are not damaged and repairs done in a substandard manner.
Okay. Anyone here from Street Services or Con Ed? Let's do this. Let's continue this item, and I'm gonna direct Street Services and Con Ed to appear before this committee to answer some important questions that I have, I know, but I'm sure Councilmember Krikorian and Garcetti have as well.
Yeah, if that's a good idea, because they should be here to at this stage to talk about that. I would ask, since the reason we're continuing it is just to make sure that they be here, that it be continued to the very next meeting, so that we don't have any further delay.
Very good. We'll do that. Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Item number 5.
Item number 5 is a motion from Council Members Huizar, Alarcon, and Buscaino relative to the establishment of a 6th Street Viaduct Arts Advisory Committee and related matters.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon. Tanner Blackman with the Office of Councilmember Jose Huizar.
Thank you.
Felicia Filer, Director of Public Arts, Cultural Affairs.
Thank you.
Becky Snodgrass, Department of Cultural Affairs.
Thank you.
I just wanted to sort of briefly queue up the Cultural Affairs, a few comments they wanted to make. We put forward this motion last fall as in and around the sort of 6th Street Bridge became a really big deal with the design competition and the announcement that HNTB had won the design competition. I don't know if you're familiar with the swooping sort of
Yes,
design
it's
of
all
the new bridge.
it's all the,
And our office had been, working very closely on this project. There's monthly executive committee meetings comprised of various city agencies. And we sort of realized that a project of this size and scope is going to generate a huge 1% for art fee for the public art component. And we have a really good working relationship with Cultural Affairs, and we wanted to sort of make sure that there was an opportunity to have a discussion around how these funds could best serve this project and the communities that they're connecting. So we put forward this motion asking for this committee to be formed. And
Well, how can this committee help you as we move forward?
Thank you. Our department has been working with the Bureau of Engineering for about 10 years now on the bridge improvement program to meet their percent for art obligation, and most of the obligations for that program have been relatively small for the artists. The designs have been limited to, or the artist participation has been limited to either doing something decorative on the approach or, railings, maybe some pavement treatment. With this project, as Tanner mentioned, that the percent for art budget is substantially larger, as well as the design of the bridge is much more comprehensive and iconic for the community. And so it leaves an opportunity for the artists or multiple artists to work in a different manner. So we think that the utilization of, the establishment of an advisory committee helps us to sort of basically articulate a vision and a set of, artistic program goals and objectives for this particular project. I think the bridge is uniquely sited, or where it's uniquely sited has, Boyle Heights community on one side and the Downtown Arts District on the other side. And so this bridge is going to represent it's going to bridge, two communities literally. And so it's a rich point of intersection and a mechanism for the artists to get involved in that discussion, that social discussion. So we think that this committee will help us basically establish the vision and the program directions.
Thank you. 1% of the project budget is set aside for new city artworks and cultural facilities and services. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Is there a requirement in the admin code that this funding be spent in the same community as the project?
Yes, and particularly for it depends on the source of the funds. So these are federal funds, so the funds have to be spent on site of the property. If they were MICLA funds, there'd be more liberal use of them. So part of the discussion with the Arts Advisory Committee is to make that determination. How do we split or allocate, if you will, the percent for art obligation? The actual calculation will be closer to 1.6.5 million, not a full 4 million, because there are certain costs associated with the EIR, right-of-way acquisitions that are uneligible costs. So we've worked with the CAO for the past couple of months and agreed upon a budget of $1.6.5 million. And of that, the department is able to take 18% for its administrative expenses. So from that, that'll leave roughly, 1.4 million or 1.3 million, and then we'll just determine where to
It's a great chunk of change to put something down there. That'd be really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where do we stand on the project? How's the 6th Street Viaduct project coming along?
Oh man, it's a big deal. I don't think that we have a firm date of sort of when
It's $1 million
the bridge
question,
will be
huh?
coming down or anything yet, but it's moving forward. In a lot of issues that we've been dealing with right now, and I think that you might be seeing more of them, are sort of vacations or dedications or issues where there might have to take some properties or things like that. So there's a lot of small issues we've been dealing with there. But it's continuing apace, I guess, is the answer.
Good. Progress is good?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, well, appreciate the insight. Anything else you want to add?
Well, I would like to make sure that you could advance this motion forward to council so we can take action, because we're anxious to get started, now, once the design team has been contracted, we'd like to be able to get to the table.
Maybe just be the communication of the chair here. Ray, we're going.
Perfect.
I think, I don't know if Councilmember Krikorian, what's that? He's about a block away. Okay. So I'll approve it, and once Councilmember Krikorian gets here, it'll be the full committee to approve and move this forward to council. So thank you so much
Thank you.
for the presentation. Okay, let's go to item 7. Mr. Yu, if you can step on up on item number 7.
Item number 7 is a report from the Bureau of Engineering relative to the street vacation proceedings to vacate Elk Grove Circle from Elk Grove Avenue to its easterly terminus.
How you doing, Mr. Yu?
I'm fine, thank you.
How long you been with the city?
28 years.
28 years. God bless you. Public Works or no, BOE?
BOE, entirely in BOE.
The entire time?
That's correct.
28 years?
Yes, correct.
Wow. So you've seen some projects come through the city.
That's correct.
Anything that one of your favorite projects in the city of LA?
Well, one of the most difficult project was the Codex Theater for the Hollywood and Highland. That was a major project at that time, so there was a really rush to try to get that project in. Yeah, that was a fun project.
It's not Kodak anymore, right? We can't.
Well,
Is it
I
Dolby
think they have a
Theater?
different name now.
Right. Well, thanks for making that happen. As you can tell, I'm trying to buy time. Tell me about item number 7.
This is a project in the Venice area. The applicant owns all the property surrounding this cul-de-sac, and what they are trying to do is vacate the street, and the Bureau of Engineering has no problem with that, so we recommend for approval on that.
Okay, and I understand this item, we're going to have to continue this item per the request of the applicant. So, Michael, if you can work on a future date on that. We'll continue this item.
Yes, we will.
Item number 7.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Edmund. Okay, let's move on to item number 3, please.
Item number 3 is a motion from council members Perry and Parks relative to the installation of a decorative fence at the Galen Center along the east side of Figaro Street.
Okay. A report, staff, come forward. Anyone? No? We good? Please? Please? The great Councilwoman Perry's office is being represented.
Hi, Marie Rumsey here on behalf of Councilmember Perry. We hope you support this motion, allow it to go forward today. This is going to allow USD to install a more beautiful fence in front of the Galen Center to help folks when they're leaving the Galen Center after big events, so they don't all spill out onto Figaro Street.
To the street, I see that.
And this is Brian League here with the university.
All right, Brian? Well, thank you very much for investing at the Galen Center and making every effort to provide safety for your guests. And I'm joined by Council Member Paul Krikorian, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. We're on item number 3, and I wanted to take it on consent, but now that you're here, any questions?
None whatsoever.
Great, item approved.
Thank you.
Okay, so, thank you. Mr. Krikorian, we heard item number 4 and 5. Any specific questions on those items?
No, I'm happy to, if you want to advance those for a
Fantastic.
vote, I'm happy to move those minutes.
So, Mike, let's do that. Items 4 and 5 will be approved without objection, and we'll approve items 1, 3, 6, also on consent without objection. And Mr. Krikorian, what we did on item 7, we continued that item.
Councilman?
Yes. I'm sorry, continue item 7. We're going to continue item 7. Right, on item number 4, what we did there, Paul, was we continued that because we didn't have street services and Con Ed here to answer some questions.
Great.
We will make sure, Michael, that we get on that item on the next agenda. So with that, let's take it to item number 2, and my colleague, Mr. Krikorian, this was your item, and I asked for you to take the lead on it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to ask staff first to just come forward. Basically, the genesis of this motion,
Would you like me to read this into
Yes,
the record? Item number 2 is a motion from Council Members Krikorian and Buscaino requesting the city attorney to prepare an ordinance to exempt vehicles owned by electronic media companies operating under the auspices of the Federal Communications Commission that transport broadcast and communications equipment.
And Mr. Chairman, the genesis of this is that some of our news outlets throughout Los Angeles have been presented with the challenge that their news vans, such as the kind that we see parked out in front of City Hall and police headquarters every day, exceed the 6,000-pound limit when they are loaded with their communications equipment. And so it has been a challenge for them to navigate around the city in order to cover the day-to-day news of the city. And so they have asked for the same kind of exemption for those news vans that are already provided for a number of other categories of service vehicles.
Staff?
Hi.
Questions or?
Brian Gallagher, Department of Transportation. This sounds like a really good idea. We just have a few concerns. The first concern is that the media vehicles only be exempt from the regulatory signs, not from the warning type signs. We currently have a problem where the same type of sign is used to prevent vehicles over 6,000 pounds from locations that may have problems with paparazzi in their neighborhood or bypass of large vehicles, as well as for roadways that are about to collapse, where they've had erosion, or where there's a bridge that can't support vehicles over 6,000 pounds. And for the driver of any large vehicle, they may not be able to distinguish what the true intent of the sign is. And so we just want to make sure that it's clear that if we start using different signs that are yellow background with black text to warn the drivers where they should not be driving on that sign for safety reasons, as opposed to the regulatory signs with the white background, that it's not going to cause extra problems. We have used these signs in neighborhoods up in the hills before where we did have paparazzi issues, where the media vehicles would be parked on the streets for days at a time, and the residents didn't really like that. And also, even if the media vehicles will be exempt from these restrictions, we expect that they'll still have to follow the posted parking restrictions.
Yeah, certainly parking restrictions shouldn't be involved in this at all. The objective here is to treat news vans in the same way that we currently treat emergency vehicles, public utility vehicles, delivery vehicles, and passenger vehicles picking up or discharging passengers, as is currently stated in the code. So I think the issue with signage is a broader question, that maybe there really should be clearly differentiated signage, so that honestly that hadn't occurred to me, that there would be similarity in the kinds of signs that are warnings for actual traffic safety issues. So while it wouldn't be my intention, Mr. Chairman, to exempt these vehicles from prohibition in areas where it would be physically unsafe for them to be, I think that it's probably worth a broader discussion for how we address the signage issue, but that's not part of my motion.
Well, this just brought it to our attention, and that we discovered that in the signs that we're allowed to use from the state of California, that there's no clear distinction made on when to use a different type of sign, and they pretty much say use the same sign for both cases. So from our end, we'll try to do a better job of using an alternate sign to convey a different message where it's more of a safety matter.
Do we need to loop in the Transportation Committee on this with the signage?
It had already been in Transportation Committee, and it was transferred over here.
Okay. Very good. Mr. Jordan?
I have nothing further. I mean, I think the issues raised by transportation are very good. I think in some cases, from my perspective, emergency vehicles may, there may be situations when we want an emergency vehicle to drive, and even in an area where, traffic passing through is going to be, blocked or impeded in some way, because emergency vehicles serve a different function than anyone else on that list. But I would certainly agree that it raises certain issues that are worth exploring, and we'd be happy to take part in that.
Yeah.
Very good.
And I think a lot of the public concern, as Mr. Gallagher suggested about this, for those neighborhoods who are disproportionately beset by news coverage, and particularly the paparazzi, I think their bigger concern is parking rather than through traffic. This is really intended to address the issue of through traffic so that a news fan going from CBS in Studio City to someplace on the west side of Los Angeles doesn't have to take a long, circuitous route to avoid going over one of the canyon roads, for example.
Otherwise, it wouldn't be live, local, late breaking.
That's
A
right.
little
You wouldn't be
plug
able to
there,
get
but-
live team coverage.
Right,
for,
right.
you know,
So
You'd have
with
to
something
tune
else
into
for-
a station on the other side of the hill.
That's
Right.
But really, it is a little silly at a time when we're trying to reduce the impacts of, air pollutants and reduce global warming, that we're forcing these vehicles on a daily basis to take a wildly inefficient route around the city just to get from one side to the other.
No, this is smart. Mr. Kokori, I was happy to second this with you because it made sense, and especially in light of living in the second largest city in the country, that we need to get information out quickly, and this would definitely help with these vehicles taking side roads and getting to the news story quickly. So I'll move that we second this. I'm sorry, that we move this and approve this,
Thank you.
or approve it, and we can move it on to City Council.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
So what do we have before us, Michael?
We went through all the items, so it's just public comment,
Any cards?
and we have not received any
Okay,
cards.
no public comment cards. Thank you very much.
We have, which item?
Item 1.
Item 1
I think
was
it's on consent.
approved on consent.
Yes. Thanks, Cheryl. Great. Thank you all for being here, and we'll see you at the next one.
Thank you very much.